Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Talk Health. I'm Dr. Amanda, naturopathic doctor, here to answer any health questions that you might have. So if you're new here, welcome to our live Q&A health chat. Feel free to drop any health questions that you have in the comments below and I will answer them for you. I've been doing this live pretty much every night over the past week, so we've been getting some great questions on here. I really appreciate all of your questions that you guys ask me, so just feel free to ask any questions in the chat box. In the meantime, while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I will have my whiteboard here. I'll pick a topic, we'll talk about that, but feel free to ask anything else in regards to any health concerns you have. A lot of questions we get on this channel are about things like supplements, herbs, diet, certain health conditions. We've been getting questions about skin health recently, hormonal health and fertility. So if you're curious about anything, feel free to ask me and I'll answer for you. So why don't we talk about, I don't think I've talked much about insulin resistance. I've kind of brought it up here and there, but let's talk a little bit about that today. So insulin. Okay, let's talk about insulin resistance. So if you're just joining us, hi and welcome. This is the Let's Talk Health live chat. I'm Dr. Amanda. This is your health Q&A. So ask me any questions in the comments and I will answer them for you. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about insulin resistance and what that is and what it is. So basically, insulin is a hormone that is released from your pancreas, and its role is to help with balancing your blood sugar. So I'll just make a note of that. Insulin is a hormone, and it basically regulates blood sugar. So let's say this is your blood vessel, okay? And then in your blood vessel, we have these like little molecules of sugar. So that's sugar, and this is your blood vessel. And then let's say we have like a cell over here. So what happens is your body will release insulin. So we're going to put insulin as like this triangle. That's insulin. And what it does, it will go here and it will then take this sugar and it will bring it into your cell. So basically what happens is anytime you eat something, your body is going to break down your food into smaller sugar pieces, especially if you're having like carbohydrate heavy meals or just pure sugary food. So what happens is sugar is in your blood, and we don't want that. We don't want blood to be hanging around, sugar to be hanging around in our blood, because then that can lead to high blood sugar, eventually can lead to things like diabetes. So your body releases insulin to then take this sugar and bring it into your cells. Now, when we have something called insulin resistance, what happens is this insulin doesn't work as well. It's not bringing this balance. Your body actually maybe has to put out like more insulin. Maybe it's putting out 3 insulins in order to do that job properly. So it's called insulin resistance because your body is resistant to the way that the insulin is functioning. So if anybody's just joining us, hi and welcome. This is Let's Talk Health. I'm Dr. Amanda, naturopathic doctor. We are having our health Q&A. I do this every night around this time, around 5, 6 Pacific time. So feel free to drop in, ask me any health questions you have or any health concerns that you wanted to know about. Today we're talking about insulin resistance. Sorry, my pen marker just fell. Today we're talking about insulin resistance, but ask me any other health questions that you might have. Okay, so that's kind of what insulin resistance means. It's like basically your body is having to put out more insulin to try to balance blood sugar. And over time, what can happen is your body might then stop even responding to it. And that would be really, usually happens in like more long-term diabetes, where your body just might not even produce that much insulin, and that's why sometimes diabetics, like type 2 diabetics, have to take insulin long term if the body's really not responding to insulin well. Okay, so that's kind of like what insulin resistance is. Now, what can we do for helping insulin resistance? Yeah, so what can we do to help with insulin resistance? So I'm just going to erase this, and then we'll kind of talk about what we can do to help with insulin resistance. We'll talk about diet, we'll talk about supplements, herbs, some kind of things that can be really beneficial for helping out with insulin resistance. And if anybody has been told they have insulin resistance, just let me know, and maybe, you know, if you're curious about what you can do, or if you don't know if you have insulin resistance, what are some things that might be indicating that you have insulin resistance? Well, one thing would be looking at your diet intake. So if you're having a lot of sugary foods, there's a chance you could have insulin resistance. If you have difficulty losing weight, or if you're gaining like abdominal weight, so like abdominal weight gain, difficulty losing weight, craving sweets is another one. Those are pretty much the more common symptoms of insulin resistance. And then there can even be other things like fatigue, or you have skin issues as well. You're getting like skin tags to be another sign of it as well. So these are just some symptoms just to keep in mind. And then like, how do you know if you have insulin resistance? Basically, you're just gonna test fasting, insulin on blood sugar, blood work, sorry. Now, this is different than A1C and glucose, okay? Just to keep that in mind, because sometimes what can happen is if insulin is not checked, your glucose and your A1C can actually come back normal. Like, I've done these tests, all 3 of them on people, where A1C and glucose is actually normal, but insulin is kind of starting to creep up, and that the higher insulin is, it shows that there's more insulin resistance. So it's actually a really great preventative screening tool to help us before maybe even catching pre-diabetes or diabetes, because as I mentioned, this might start going up first before these even go up. So that's something just to keep in mind if you have a family history of diabetes, if you tend to like a lot of sugary sweets, soda, or even if you're just feeling a little bit off or something's going on like weight gain and all that kind of stuff, getting your insulin checked would be beneficial. So, okay, so that was my little rant about how we would diagnose it or what symptoms, and we'll talk about remedies in a minute, but I just wanted to say welcome to anybody that's just joined us. Hi and welcome, this is Let's Talk Health. I'm Dr. Amanda. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I talk a lot about holistic health on here, so feel free to ask me any questions. This is our live Q&A. If you've been watching, make sure to like the video. I really do appreciate it. It does help get our video noticed across the YouTube live stream. And then also be sure to subscribe and join our community here. So, okay. So let's erase now this, and we can talk about some things to do. And then just out of curiosity, if anybody's watching that has insulin resistance, let us know in the comments, and like how is that impacting your life, or you know, how did you find out that you have it? Okay, so now let's talk about what we can do for diet. So one thing that we can do for a diet is having a balanced meal. I talk about this a lot on here, but it honestly is pretty important. So when we're having a balanced meal, you want to have, like, let's say this is your plate, okay? Now, a lot of times if we think about traditional diets, traditional meals, they're usually carbohydrate heavy. If you're thinking about something like pasta or pizza or a burger or rice and meat, like a lot of times half of that plate is like carbohydrate, right? We actually want half of the plate to be pretty much mostly vegetables would be a good option. So like your veggies, like your greens, okay, I'm not talking about like potatoes and starchy veggies. So things like greens are important. You could do salad, that would be important to have. Things with fiber, so things like broccoli, all that kind of good stuff. And then the quarter would be protein. Now you could definitely do more protein, like I'll do another option here where like protein could be half, and then the veg could be the quarter. And then when we're looking over here, this would be your, like what we call a traditional carbohydrate, but you want it to be a fibrous carb. So something that, like, for example, a quinoa is a good one, or a sweet potato is another one. Lentils, that kind of stuff. Yes, you can definitely do, if you want to have your traditional carbohydrates like rice or pasta, that's fine, you could do that, but just again, it's limited to just 25%. Or you could do something like a pasta or rice. That's also okay. Now, then the other thing is, sorry, this is the fiber carb. The other thing is you want a side of a healthy fat. That's really important. So plus a healthy fat. So making sure that you're having protein, some sort of carbohydrate that could be more fibrous, and then your veggies, and then a healthy fat. And that can even just be something like olive oil that if you're having a salad, you're putting olive oil on top of your salad. If you're having avocado, it's another good one. Maybe walnuts. Those are some really good healthy fats. So if you're just joining us, hi and welcome. I'm Dr. Amanda, naturopathic doctor. This is our live health Q&A, so make sure to join us here, subscribe, and like the video. I really do appreciate all of the input that I get from you guys, saying that it's helpful, saying that you enjoyed the chat tonight. So make sure you are subscribed and you do turn on notifications so you get notified when I go live. Right now we're talking about insulin resistance, and we're talking about diet for insulin resistance. And the main thing that I mentioned here is that you want to have a balanced meal. So for example, on this side, we got mostly veg, some protein and fibrous carbs. On this side, we got protein, majority, or veg and carbs. So it's pretty good and balanced with that healthy fat. What you don't want is like the 50% being your carbohydrate in the sense of something like a rice or a pasta or a bread, because when we're looking at insulin resistance, we want to make sure our blood sugar is balanced. And the two things that are going to really help with balancing out the blood sugar, three things is going to be protein, fat, and fiber are really going to help with balancing your blood sugar. So when you have a more balanced meal, it's going to prevent a big spike in your blood sugar.
What are cramps?
Cramps? If you could clarify a little bit, do you just mean like cramps, like stomach cramps or period cramps?
Sounds like they don't know what cramps means.
Did I say cramps? Carbs, maybe? If you could please clarify.
Can you define what cramps are?
Yeah, if we're talking about things like cramps in terms of like stomach cramp, it's basically the muscles in your stomach. So our stomach has like quite a few muscle layers, same with our intestines, and it's basically tightening of the muscles, what you could think of a cramp as. Same thing with like muscle cramps in, for example, your arms or your legs. We have muscles all throughout the body and they're different types of muscles. So that can happen. You can get a cramp in your arm or leg. It's basically the muscle tightening up. One cause of this could be due to dehydration, so not enough water. That's more specifically for your skeletal muscles, so the muscles around your bones. In your stomach, it could be due to something that irritated it. It could be due to some excess gas, acid reflux, those kind of things can cause cramps. Good question. Okay. So that was diet. And we'll talk now about let's talk about eating habits. It's kind of similar to diet. This is also really important. So if anybody's just joining us, hi and welcome. This is Let's Talk Health. It's our live health Q&A where you can ask me any questions and leave them in the comments and I will answer them for you. So I'm talking about insulin resistance, but you can ask me anything, any other health concerns you have. I get a lot of questions about things like vitamin D and supplements, so those are all really great questions. If you haven't joined us before, make sure to subscribe and then also like the video too. Okay, let's talk about some eating habits. So one thing what you want to do is space out your meals, okay? Now this could be doing a little bit of a fast, so like I'll make a note under there that intermittent fasting can be something that counts under there. And I've talked about intermittent fasting before, but basically it's where you're eating for 8 hours and then you're fasting for a 16-hour window. So that can be helpful, and the reason why spacing out meals can be helpful is, let's say let's say you ate at 10 a.m., okay, for example. Anytime you eat, your insulin will spike. If you're eating something that's more protein-based and fat-based, it's not going to spike as much, but it could spike a little bit because it's trying to bring down your blood sugar. So let's say insulin spikes up like that. Now, let's say you ate them at 11. Well, it doesn't get a chance to come back down. It's just going to go back up. And let's say you ate at 12. It's just going to keep kind of staying up if you keep snacking throughout the day. We don't want that. What we want is you to space out your meals. So let's say you eat at 10 a.m. and you want to space about 3 to 4 hours. So then let's say the next one is at 1:30. And then let's say you have at like 5 o'clock. So what would happen is it would go up, then it could come down, then it would go up and come down and up and down. So that's much better for your insulin because it has the chance to come back down. And so this is insulin here. And it has that chance to come back down, and that's much better for your insulin sensitivity. Because if your insulin's kind of always high, and if you're constantly eating and snacking, it won't have that chance to come back down, and then your body becomes more resistant to it. So a really good tip is like having 2-3 meals spaced out throughout the day. Of course, if you want to have a snack, that's fine, but just making sure it's more balanced like we talked about with the meals. So I hope that is helpful in terms of spacing out your meals for insulin resistance and balancing out your meals. Okay, I've talked a lot about that. So if anybody's just joining us, if you have any health questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. This is our Let's Talk Health live stream. I'm Dr. Amanda, naturopathic doctor. I'm here to answer any health questions you have. So this is our Q&A. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. I do appreciate it. It really helps when we get this video more popular and noticed across the YouTube channel and the YouTube live stream channel. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, let's talk about some remedies, some things that you can do for helping out with it. So I just call this remedies. So we talked about diet. The next one that we can talk about is exercise. I don't know why I couldn't spell it for a second. Exercise, so combination of you want to do weights, so like strength, really good because you're building your muscle mass and that's super important for uptaking glucose, really important. And then cardio, a combination of both. Like I wouldn't just say one or the other, I would say they're both equally important. So getting your heart rate up and doing some sort of strength training to build muscle. The other thing that can be helpful is magnesium. There's different forms of magnesium. I talked about this before, but generally I would just say sticking with any form of magnesium, just not doing the oxide, maybe doing the glycinate, the malate. Those are pretty much the two more beneficial ones. But magnesium can be really helpful for supporting insulin resistance, so it can help with improving insulin sensitivity. Another one is, it's a herbal extract, it's called berberine. Berberine is great. The way it works in the body is it helps with improving insulin control. So it can help your body balance out that blood sugar better. It usually is found in capsule forms, and you want to take this with food, like you take with a meal. And then it will help with offsetting that spike in glucose. Now with berberine, it can cause stomach aches, it can cause looser stools, so that's just something to keep in mind. And it does have a bunch of other benefits too. It's great for helping with cholesterol levels as well. So if you're somebody that has those like blood sugar and cholesterol issues, berberine's a really good one. So that's a great one. What else is really helpful for insulin resistance? There's also inositol is another good one. This is more so specific if you have PCOS. I'll just make a note of that. Good for PCOS because it helps insulin resistance. Then it's also great for helping ovary health and balancing out hormonal levels like testosterone issues that are common in PCOS. So those what I would say are the main ones to kind of choose from in order to help with balancing out your insulin resistance. So, okay. So if anybody's just joining us, hi and welcome. I'm Dr. Amanda. This is our Let's Talk Health live stream. We are here to talk about any health Q&A. I'm here nightly, so just make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you get notified when I go live. I am here just to answer any health questions or concerns that you might have. So maybe you don't have a question today, but if you do tomorrow, I will be here and I will answer them for you. Okay, so we talked a lot about insulin resistance. We talked about what it is, how you can check for it. So if you're just joining us, just to kind of recap, you want to do a blood test to check for it. In terms of treating it, you want to do a balanced diet, so protein, carbohydrates, and fats, but mostly focusing on those protein and vegetables and fiber and fats. We also talked about spacing out your meals, so eating about 3 to 4 hours apart. And then these remedies would be the main thing I would focus on: exercise, magnesium, berberine, and inositol. The other thing, like when we're talking about exercise, even just going for like a walk after you eat a meal, that can be really beneficial as well. So I'll just make a note on that. So go for a walk after eating. That's like a really good one to follow. Very simple. Like you don't need to go spend money at a gym. You don't need to, take out too much time out of your day. Even if you're just going for 15 minutes, that's super helpful. Does that look like a 5? Yeah. 15. There we go. That's really helpful. So just after your meals, go for a walk. It can really be beneficial for supporting your blood sugar and insulin. Okay. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about in terms of insulin resistance. I'll leave the chat open for another minute or so. If there's any health questions that you wanted to ask, feel free to drop them in the chat. As I mentioned before, I'm here to answer any health questions you have. So this is our health Q&A, all about holistic health. And if you are also new here, if you haven't joined our community yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications and like the video so that way you get notified when I go live. All right. So every night I kind of talk about a little different topic. If there's something you were interested in, you wanted me to just talk about it, let me know, and I can definitely talk about that as well. Doesn't have to be a specific question. You can just say, hey, can you talk about this kind of topic? Or, hey, I heard about this supplement. Let me know a little bit about it, but yeah. Okay, so I think we'll wrap up for tonight, and I will see you all back tomorrow. Thanks for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Don't forget to join our health community here. Bye for now.